How to start the new year off on the right foot. So, congratulations, you made it to 2024. You have all this energy, all these expectations, and a long list of goals that you want to accomplish. And now you're ready to get started. Now, what makes this year different than all the other previous years, right? So, if you're 35, what makes this year different from the last 35 years? If you're 25, what makes this year different than the last 25 years? We want to make sure that we're going into this year with a different bag of tricks, a different strategy, different tactics, if you will. Because if we go in this year the same way we went into last year, and if we're not satisfied with the results we had this previous year, then what makes you think this year is going to be any different? That's the reason why I wanted to do this podcast, because I want to make sure that you guys have the skill set that you need in order to make sure that you successfully accomplish the goals that you want to accomplish for this year. And that's what this is all about. Now listen, I'll tell you, last year I started off with a list of goals. One in particular was the income goal. And I'll be honest, guys, I fell a little short of it. Now, here's the thing about me falling short of it. I did all the tasks that I said that would lead me to that goal, but I still fell short of it. So imagine you have this goal, and under the goal, you have all the action steps. Well, for me, I did the action steps, but I still wasn't able to hit the goal. Now, that tells me one or two things. That tells me either one, I didn't hit the action steps consistently enough or with the level of intensity that I needed, or they were just simply the wrong action steps. And to remedy that, right, to fix that problem, I actually hired a coach. I joined a coaching program. And this year, I really expect things to be different. But I had to realize that, hey, this past year, even though I did well financially, and doing well financially is up to his and her, interpretation, if you want to call it. But I did do well financially. I was able to do some big things. One of those things being having a wedding, and in that same year, being able to buy a house for my family. So this year, even though I may not have hit some of the goals that I wanted, it was still a successful year outside of that income goal. Now that I have a coach, I'm asking myself, will this year be different? And I do believe that it will. Not only do I have a coach, but the coach is providing me with a proven framework that I can use within my business to take me to the next level. All right. So I want to ask you, what are you going to do differently this year that you didn't do last year to help guarantee that you hit the goals that you're going to set? Again, if you find yourself looking at this past year, 2023, with regret, looking at it as if, man, I didn't hit the things that I wanted to hit, I have to ask you, what are you going to do this year that's going to be different? If you don't do anything different, do not be upset when December 31st, 2024 comes around and you haven't accomplished the goals and we're back at square one. Because again, even myself, I got bit by the new year, new me bug. And it doesn't normally happen to me. But this year, I'm like, hey, I think this year will be different. And I think a lot of that has to do with me investing in my own self by buying a coach. Now, the purpose of this podcast is for me to help you to make sure that you're ready to enter into the new year on the right foot. And just as a side note, if you're listening to this podcast, make sure you subscribe to it so that I can give you more tools throughout the year that's going to help ensure that you hit these goals. Now, something that I also want to say is that in the link below, I'm going to have a link to a newsletter that I have. And this newsletter is for entrepreneurs and working professionals that are looking to build their confidence. If that is you, then you need to subscribe to my newsletter, because each week I give at least one email that will take you less than 3 minutes to read, but yet has the power of a therapy session, right? A full hour's worth of therapy will be built into this 3-minute email. And in this email, I'll give you all the tips and strategies that I use in my sessions where people are paying me high dollars or high ticket amounts, if you will, to be a part of it. So with that being said, let's get into the first thing that you need to do to make sure that you have a successful 2024. So the first one is identifying values. And the first question is, what are the core values that are most important to you, and how might aligning your actions with these values make 2024 a more meaningful year? Okay, I'll say that again. What are the core values that are most important to you, and how might aligning your actions with these values make 2024 a more meaningful year? In other words, how would this year be different if you were to manifest these values within your actions? Now, one thing that I do with all my clients, even today, I had a couple new clients and we did this together. I gave them a list of values and I asked them, in these 4 domains of your life, pick which 3 values are the most important. Now, if you've been listening to my podcast, you know about these domains, but if you're new, I'll tell you what these 4 domains are. So the first one is career and education. The second one is leisure time. Third, relationships. And then last, personal growth, and personal health. You can think of your goals. You want to think of how you're going to approach 2024 within those different domains of life. That'll give you a framework, that'll give you a system to be able to compartmentalize what parts of your life we're doing really, really well in and what parts just simply need some improvement. So ask yourself, what is it that you value in each of these areas? The reason why we want to always focus on this is because you can have massive success and still feel unfulfilled. You can find yourself accomplishing a lot of goals, but still feel lost, still feel stuck. And that happens when people are not doing the right work. They're just doing work. So we want to make sure we know exactly what it is that you value. So identify those values and ask yourself, how would this make my life meaningful this year? The second one, and I kind of alluded to this, next you want to start to defining your goals. Now with these questions that I'm asking you, I would tell you to hit pause and write down the answer to these questions and then come back and unpause these episodes. Now if you're driving, if you're working out, I would tell you once you listen to it, just think on it and come back later and listen to it again and write the answers to these questions, because these are questions that I ask myself and my clients. So this is very valuable. So the second one is all about defining your goals. And what you want to do, or what question I want to ask, is consider your values that we just mentioned and ask yourself, what are some specific, realistic, and meaningful goals you'd like to set for yourself for this coming year? Now, when you're setting these goals, make sure you attach a number to it, okay? Because when we attach a number, when we make a goal measurable, we can look at it and then say, did we complete it or did we not complete it? Okay, so try your best to really make it specific and quantify that goal by giving it a number. Also, give it a number by giving it a due date. We don't want goals that are just lingering, but we want to have specific dates to show us that, hey, by this day, this needs to be complete. Because if it's not, we want to then ask ourselves, what have we been doing these past few days, few weeks, few months, whatever it is. Just to make sure that by the end of the year, we're not looking at the list and see that nothing has been crossed off. Third, mindful action. So ask yourself, in what ways can you bring more mindfulness into your daily actions, fostering a deeper connection with the present moment throughout the year? I'll say that again. In what ways can you bring more mindfulness into your daily actions, fostering a deeper connection with the present moment throughout the year? And to help you out, I'll give you a simple technique that I've been giving some of my clients this week. So what I have a few of my clients do is by doing everything in slow motion. And I mean that literally. So what I'm telling my clients to do is, when you're taking a shower, when you're going for a walk, even when you're eating, I want you to move at half speed. Even if you're brushing your teeth, I want you to move at half speed, because when you intentionally move at a slow pace like that, it forces you to be focused in the moment so that you don't speed through everything while still being wrapped up in your mind. By doing this, it ensures that you're being present. And what we would then do is take that same ability to be present and place it in the next meaningful task that you're going to do, whether it be something leisurely or something productive for your job or for your business. The reason why we want to do this is because when you're present, it allows you to, one, enjoy the leisure stuff that much more, right? So it's kind of like pouring salt onto your food, right? It brings out the flavor, and it'll do the same thing with your leisure activities. But then within your career or in your business, by doing things slow paced, you'll find yourself being more intentional, making less mistakes, and maybe even learning how to do something better because now you're being more present with it. So I want you just to slow down in life. And by doing that, it'll make every moment that much more meaningful. The fourth one is something that I teach each and every day. It is the epitome of the framework that I use in my therapies. And this is all about building psychological flexibility. Okay, so if you're thinking, what is that? Well, think of someone trying to touch their toes when they're scratching. We want that person to be very flexible, right? If they're very flexible, that'll mean that, they're healthy, their joints are working, all that stuff, right? But if they're rigid, if they can't touch their toes, we know that person should probably get out and exercise a little more. That person should probably stretch a little more, right? So building psychological flexibility. And I'm going to ask you guys this question. How can you practice being more psychologically flexible? And what that means is adapting to change, learning from experiences, not just the good ones, but the failures, the bad ones as well. So learning from experiences and staying open to new possibilities. Okay, I'll say that again. How can you practice being more psychologically flexible? All right, so we just say simply being open, being more accepting. How can you practice being more accepting and adapting to change, learning from your experiences, and staying open to new possibilities? Well, I'll say this in one word: curiosity. That's probably the biggest thing that I'm taking with me within my career and education domain. The more curious I am, the more likely I am to investigate, to do a little bit of digging and try to see how can I do something a little bit better, or what would happen if I stay consistent with this one action for the next year. These little things, it piques my interest enough to where it makes me want to go and do this habit again and again and again. It makes me want to do this hard stuff over and over and over again. Even for me, something like podcasting is something that is still a little uncomfortable, but yet here we are. Episode, I believe this is 79. don't correct me if you will, but I'm on episode 79. And this was a thing, this podcast was a thing that I actually picked up and I put down for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And this year I said, hey, I need to do something with this podcast. So I dusted off the mic and I got back in the booth and I did it very imperfectly. This is a test to show you guys that, hey, it's okay to start from ground zero. Just keep practicing and get your reps in. And trust me, you'll do fine. And then the last one, mindfulness and reflection. So what this means is, can you take a moment to reflect on the highs and lows of 2023 without judgment, simply observing your experiences? So I want you to take a moment. It could be for 60 seconds. It could be for 5 minutes. Take a moment, close your eyes, and really reflect on what were some of the highs of 2023. What were some of the lows of 2023? What were some of the opportunities that you didn't capitalize on? Take a moment to reflect on what these things are. Was it something business related, career related? Was it something in relation to maybe friendships or relationships? Maybe there's a trip that you said, I should have planned, but instead you chose to spend money on other things. You chose maybe to save that money, and maybe you felt like, hey, that was the one trip that I should have went on. I want you to take a moment just to simply reflect. And as you reflect on 2023, it's not that these things were good or bad, but what it does is it provides you data. It shows you what things do you value, because where your attention goes, where your action goes, where your focus goes, that shows you what you deem as valuable. And sometimes the things that we put our attention to may not be the most healthiest. So we need to make sure we're being mindful of these things. So reflect on your past year, 2023. And again, if you did not reach some of your goals, ask yourself, what was it that stopped me? And this should tell you what books, courses, even within my podcast episodes, what podcasts you should go back and listen to. So many different things. And again, I want you to subscribe to my newsletter that's in the link below, because if you do that, I promise I'll give you techniques and strategies that's going to help you throughout the week in under 3 minutes. So that's all you have to do, guys. The ball is in your court. And here's the thing, I'll challenge you. 80% of people, they won't take any of those offers. They won't do it. And that's okay. That makes it easier for you to be a part of the top 20% and eventually move into the top 1%. And it's simply because you took action. So I want to go over these questions again. First, what are your core values that are most important to you? And how might aligning your actions with these values make 2024 a more meaningful year? The second question, considering your values, what are some specific, realistic, and meaningful goals you'd like to set for yourself in this coming year? Third, in what ways can you bring more mindfulness into your daily actions, fostering a deeper connection with the present moment throughout the year? Fourth, how can you practice being psychologically flexible, so being open? So that means adapting to change, learning from experiences, and staying open to new possibilities. How can you practice that? And then number 5, can you take a moment to reflect on the highs and lows of 2023 without judgment, simply observing your experiences? And we want to do that because you need to learn from your past to inform you of how you should be in the current, right here, right now. And by doing that, you have a great chance to influence your future, to make your future something that you're going to love waking up to. Because what we're working towards is December 31st, 2024, and being able to reflect on it with great love, success, confidence, admiration, if you will, right? Appreciation, gratitude, and things like that. That's what we're working towards this year. So this is Coach Wells. I'm a licensed therapist. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. And again, make sure you subscribe to my newsletter. All right, guys. I'll see you later.